wish that was recorded. I wish the start of the recording has the voice that comes out, the female that just comes out and says, "This video is being recorded," and then
And that'd be like the beginning.
yeah, and then in perfect Tony Stark fashion, I'd be like, "Thanks, whatever the fuck your name is."
You have to name her then.
Yeah. Welcome to Geek Boots, military nerds. Here at Geek Boots, let's tell you all about the big green weenie and how it likes to continue to fuck us. Just like Zoom letting you know that a video call is being recorded, and you won't know because it's not being recorded.
You can't record the recording of the recording telling you it's being recorded.
Sorry, my hand was in the wrong motion. Hold on. We have
To all of those who don't have us on YouTube, guess what that gesture was.
Guess in the comments below.
You have 3 guesses.
This episode is jacked, and that's the wrong choice of words given the hand gesture, full of content. We are going to be talking about the recording of tonight is June 30th, aka the last date of Pride Month. So we're going to give some love to Pride. It's also just before the weekend of the 4th of July, and this episode will come up for the 4th of July. So we're going to give some love to the 4th of July. We're going to give some.
We need rainbows and fireworks.
I don't see a problem with rainbow fireworks during the 4th of July.
I'm here for it.
I say fucking bring it on. I think that would be fucking awesome.
Really like your hat today. Like
I know.
With the stripes
Yeah.
in it and everything.
Boston Scally was doing a special for the Independence Day. Unfortunately, did not get the pin that comes with it, but it's a collector's edition. So one time a year sale, and I was like, fuck yeah, I want to own that. And then all of a sudden it became 100 degrees out, and I'm like, no. We're also going to give
100 degrees here.
We're also going to give love to Mayan Goddess, because the force is strong with this one. My Cabin Weekend, which will tie into some mental health. We're going to give some ideas of what you can do to help your mental health, because I did some stuff over the weekend that helped my mental health astronomically. And then tie this episode off by giving our opinions about Loki so far. That being said, let's get into the shout outs that ties into Pride. Comic book shops, of course. My comic book shop here in the state of Washington, Pacific Northwest. Mill Geeks Comics and Collectibles, as always. Big shout out to and love to them as they continue to love on us. Let's throw it on over to Mayan Goddess. Mayan Goddess, your turn.
I love to give shout outs to Frank and Sons over in City of Industry, California. With COVID restrictions lifting, they've been lifting some of the restrictions, and they've also been providing COVID vaccines over at the shop. So it's been really, really great seeing them kind of incorporate. Yeah. So if you haven't gotten
here's your shot and your comic book.
Yeah, it's been pretty great.
Love it.
So yeah, if you haven't gotten your vaccine yet for some reason and you're interested, you can go to Frank and Sons and get it for free. They have the Johnson & Johnson, and they also have Pfizer. Much love to them.
When you have to tell me, like, I don't know when the last time you were there, but you have to tell me if, like, the way they verb things when they give people vaccines, if like, all right, here's your superpowers, blah blah blah. That's like, they have to, of course, make it puntastic. But I'm just like, I did not expect the words to fly out of your mouth was they're giving vaccines out at your comic book shop.
It's pretty, like, I remember, like, I walked
in and I was just like, serum.
What? Yeah, when I saw it, it was pretty wild.
I mean, it works in my head. I mean, like, you know, the superhero.
Yeah. I'm just letting our listeners know, though, if you go in there and the vial is glowing, that's not for COVID, and you should probably speak with your lawyer after getting it.
Or don't get it.
There's gamma radiation in this?
Right?
I mean, I probably would. If it was glowing, I would be like, I guess we'll just try this out.
I got superpowers and cancer. I'm Deadpool now.
No, he got the cancer prior to the superhero powers.
Semantics. Now throwing it over to Cosplay Jenemy.
I'm not going to do a comic book shop. I'm going to shout out to my friend Nebula Niceties. She's got geeky clothing and stuff that you can get, and she's just been starting out. It's been like the first 6 months of her new business. It's going pretty good, so you should check her out and her nerdy clothing.
All right.
It's still, it's still small, but it's got some really cute stuff in it. I have a bunch at this point. I'm not wearing one, but
We'll have to check them out.
she has a cosplay off duty shirt as well and jacket, so it's like one of my favorites to wear.
Nice, that one, gotcha. And of course, Pride. We'll throw it over to Cosplay Jenemy about Pride.
Also, yes, we'll also talk about Pride, and if you want to do something for Pride, if you feel prideful, but you're an ally and you feel like there's nothing you can do, or even if you're not an ally and there's stuff you want to do, donating to the Trevor Project would be fantastic. It's donated towards children and young adults. It's up to age 25 is kind of their age group. And it's a suicide helpline for the LGBTQ plus members, and they do a lot of different organizational funds and stuff, and they try to help the teens mostly from committing suicide, because a lot of teens commit suicide because they don't have any help or think they're alone. And so that's a really good one.
And unlike the ACE card, this will actually work. I'm sorry. I had to give shade to the ACE card because that's what I was thinking. I was like, wow, this is so much better than, and then I thought of organizations that had nightmares flash across my face.
Can you explain what the ACE card is? Because I don't think Marines had that.
So the ACE card is, when I got in, drill sergeants were handing them out like candy. Basically, it's a information business cards for a hotline if you have suicidal thoughts while you're in. The problem and the joke with us in the Army was it became more of an scapegoat, because the idea was for all of us to give each other the ACE card. And our impression was, I'm your battle buddy. Shouldn't I be there for you? So here's this ACE card. Don't talk to me, was kind of the impression we got from the fucking cards. That's why we crack jokes, because it's like I'm not giving you a card. If you need somebody to talk to, I'm your fucking battle buddy. Talk to me.
We had battle buddy cards that we had to fill out, like, to prove that we had somebody we would talk to, which was incredibly weird. But
no, the ACE card was.
But yeah, we didn't have all that.
But essentially, it was, here's a suicidal hotline. Here's an email. Blah blah blah. And we were just kind of like, this kind of like, if let's say you were opening up to somebody, your battle buddy, and you needed them, how would you feel if they just handed you an ACE card instead?
So I feel like this happens a lot more often. Like when I was in, and correct me if I'm wrong if you guys had a different experience, but when I was in, it was like mental health was kind of like a taboo subject. Like you didn't want to talk about it. Like if you wanted to seek out treatment, or if you wanted to talk to like a professional, or the wizard, right? Like it was almost taboo, and like people didn't really address it until they got out.
Yeah.
And so if you guys are watching, like I cannot stress this enough, mental health matters regardless of if you're a veteran, if you are still in, if you know someone who's going through a hard time. We should make it so that it's not a taboo subject. Like if someone's struggling, I would much rather talk it out than just be like, hey, here's an ACE card or whatever.
Here's how you get help. Go do that.
Yeah. Or it's like, hey, here's a 6-pack, here's a 12-pack, here's an 18-pack, call me in the morning kind of thing, which I feel like is what we do instead. Like that's our mental health coping mechanism instead of just confronting it head on. Because
which is really a bad coping mechanism.
It is. And like when we're in, it's almost like we don't have time to step back and process the shit that we're going through.
And then you only have a good 3 to 6 months once you get out that people will pay attention to you for mental health. And then after that, you once served. Okay. Head pats.
It's like, cool. Here's a discount card for the Bevmo over here. Have fun.
But yeah, this foundation which you speak of, that sounds awesome. So much better than most organizations I've heard of, especially when you're in that age and you feel like you don't know who to talk to.
That age group is key demographic for suicides, for young adults who are going through some type of transition or finding themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you don't, at that age, you feel like being different is the end of the world.
And it's hard to find, like, especially like in those formative years, it's hard to find a community. Like,
Yeah.
It really
especially in
is.
some
It's-
areas, it's like you may be the only one, or you may think that you're the only one. Like, I remember I felt like that when I was in high school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I came from a military town, and at the time when I was in it, you know, it was taboo in the military, not just,
Yeah.
and it was a small southern town. So it was a small southern military town that I grew up in, that I was in high school in. So that whole thing was pretty.
I feel like ultimately it's not just a generational thing. It is the group of people you're with. Like when people say, "Oh, this whole entire branch is awful." Well, no, it's dependent on the unit you're assigned to. And like for me, I was blessed with the units that I had because it was a matter of a lot of things were just normalized. So if someone came out of the closet and decided to tell people they were gay, our response, no, it wasn't woohoo. It was, yeah, we know, and we're happy you finally came out, and we love you no
Thanks
matter
for
what.
telling us.
Nothing's gonna change because we love you. And they're like, oh my god, cool, awesome. You know what I mean? That's what I was blessed with, was people who were just like, yeah, we know, we don't give a fuck.
Can I share a story?
Of course.
Okay.
It's the end of Pride Month, so fucking do it.
Story time.
Okay, story time. Okay, so I had a gunny, and this was like deep into Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but it was like near the tail end of it, like the last few years before it got kind of dissipated, right?
Mhm.
So we had a gunny who was unquestionably flamboyantly gay, but he never spoke about it because Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and we never addressed it. It was just like, okay, he's our gunny, like that doesn't matter to us. Except for our officer in charge, our OIC. He would straight up say, and I'm going to try and bleep myself, it might slip out, but he would say, hey, come here. Like he would say the cigarette word. You feel me?
Oh, the F word.
He would say like, hey, cigarette, come here, but not cigarette. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
But he would say it in front of fucking everybody. Like everybody. From like gunnies down to the lance corporals, you know? And this was like our enlisted, like he was one of our top enlisted people out in our unit. And it was so uncomfortable. So like little by me, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. And then at one point, our gunny goes into our OIC's office and he goes, sir, with all due respect, I would like for you to call me by my rank that I earned, because that's professional. That's how this works. And our OIC went fucking off on him. Like it's not right. Your personality and your choice isn't healthy. This is a Christian nation. This is a Christian unit. Went off and was like, you're going to hell. You're like, just all like everything you could think of, and was saying it loud enough for everybody in the building to hear. And our gunny was just like, I appreciate your concern, but I would like for you to call me by my rank, and just kept saying it with such resolve. And by the end, like it was a half-hour tirade, and every single time he'll just say, I understand, I still would like you to call me by my rank. Yeah. By the end of it, like our gunny walked out and we all kind of had to like clear the hall, because like the balls on him were so fucking big it needed a red carpet kind of feeling.
Like Stan Marsh during his cancer
like,
treatment. And he's
you all bow.
But we're just like, and yeah, that next day he started calling him Gunny and Gunner Sergeant. And it was just seeing that type of like seeing the shit that he went through. And granted, he was a gunny. So by that point, he had been through his whole fucking career dealing with Don't Ask, Don't Tell, dealing with homophobes like that. And so like when Don't Ask, Don't Tell got dissipated, or it just disappeared, essentially, it just stopped. He walked in and said, hey, so Don't Ask, Don't Tell is done. And that's it. There's nothing left to talk about. and we're just going to keep doing our job. And that was it. And it was amazing to see that kind of transition, to go from being called ignorant, right?
Yeah.
To dealing with that level of respect. It was just an insane transition. So now looking at like the current generation that's in now and seeing what they get to do, they don't have to deal with that type of pressure, or as much pressure as the previous generations. So I'm very grateful for the progress that we've made as an overall military. So it's just
the fact that I got here to Colorado while the commandant was a out lesbian with a wife and children was huge compared to just when I was in.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like, you can't talk about it. Like, I had somebody in my squadron basically tried to tell everybody he was gay because he wanted out of the military, and he knew that was a surefire way he would get kicked out.
That's just wild. And I bet you that commandant for the longest time was with her special friend until Ernesto got
my roommate.
Yeah.
My roommate is pregnant.
Who would have thought? Wow. Yeah. It's nice being able to kind of express yourselves and like in a way where it's like, it's not a deciding factor of like, do I get to keep my job or not? And I feel like that's compared to like 10 years ago even, or 20 years ago, like seeing that type of progress, it's really inspirational. And
the military was pretty quick to adjust, quicker than most communities.
Because we adapt and overcome.
I mean, not that there isn't still and was, bigots and racists and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds in every organization of all, but the fact that the higher ups were pretty quick to be like, okay, this is the new rule. We're going with that. That's what it is, and into discussion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I like that, but it reminds you that pride is important.
Yes.
Because without this month, without shoving our agendas in your face, we would be pushed aside. And not just like put in the closet because it's scary in there, but because you don't want to look at it, you don't want to see it.
Or worse, it's like actively finding them and hunting them down.
Yeah,
because that was a thing too.
Yeah, it was a thing. It still is a thing. But yeah, and so saying, hey, we're here, we're active, we're a part of this community, this thing. I don't know. We are prideful of who we are, and you can't take that from us. You can't take who we are away from us, because would you want somebody to come and take your brown eyes away, or your love for XYZ? I don't want to be stereotypical, so I was gonna say NASCAR, but then I was like, that's really stereotypical, so let me not be that person.
Yeah, I mean, like, we still have a lot. There's still a lot to do, but
there's a ton to do.
Yeah, so it's like we can, like, we're making that progress, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, and 100%. The small steps, the teeny tiny, very sliver of steps that we have made, especially like in the military and other organizations where you can't be fired for your sexual orientation now. Cheer for those. Be happy. Be allowed, the fact that gay marriage is legal in all states at this point. That is things to be happy about. That's things to cheer about. Those are things that we have to celebrate as well.
Absolutely.
In Pride Month. But we have to remind people that, we're still people.
Yep.
Yeah. As an interesting segue, this reminds me of a conversation I was having with somebody who we were talking about Pride Month, and we were talking about that in Seattle, there is quite a number of people who view the American flag as a whole. This is the transition to talking about 4th of July and America. Shifting those gears, right? And we were having this conversation about like how it's kind of there's shame to it. We don't want to rock it and blah blah blah. And I gave them something to really chew and think about. I go, do you know what that American flag means to me? And I don't want you to just say, well, because you served in the army. No, there's a lot more meaning to it. And to me personally, when it comes down to the American flag, it's a symbol of standing up against your oppressor and your tyrants. That's what that flag represents to me. And in all honesty, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to be that patriot and say that American flag should be definitely uh, risen and waved by the gay pride people for sure. Why? Because this country is for them too. And let's be real, what's gonna really shake to the core of the people that hate you so much than taking the flag and using it for its intended purpose and making them forcefully see that you love America too, and that they have to fucking deal with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
with you.
Like,
I'm with you because a lot of people have taken the flag and have turned it into something that I don't agree with
yeah,
and I don't like. And so yes, I would 100% want to have like all of these like I would love to see like I mean there is a gay pride American flag by the way if you want those.
nice.
It's the blue with the stars and then it's all the rainbow colors down
Oh,
as the
okay.
stripes. And so that is I learned that this month in my
Oh yeah, I really like that one. By the way, since we're talking about the flag and we're talking about 4th of July, can I tell you my biggest pet peeve? I don't know if this is your guys' pet peeve, but for all of my lovely patriots out there, please, 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 don't wear the flag as like apparel. Like fun fact, that doesn't follow the flag code. And when I tell you, like, when I see so often those like flag suits or the flag pants, and I'm just like,
so this is
how that, and it always happens like right
as
around
long
this time of the year.
To me, as long as it's clothing and you're doing clothing as
I was gonna
flag
say,
and wearing that, like his hat has, you know,
yeah.
the stripe. Okay, cool. Or if there's a flag on your clothing.
Yeah,
but if
that's
you're
fine.
actually taking the flag and desecrating the flag to
I'm wearing these in 2 weekends. No, it's interesting you bring this up too, because somebody actually dissected the word for word of what it is, and the flag code literally states, as Jen was saying, don't fucking sit there and cut up the American flag and turn it into clothing. That's one thing. Fuck you for doing that. I don't know who does that. Fuck them for if they do that.
Have you seen like maternity shoots with like the flag wrapped around like these?
Yeah, that's I'm kind of just like, I don't know how I feel about that, because deep down I'm sitting here thinking, because that's a baby, and I'm like, that baby's gonna be shitting like there's no tomorrow all over that flag, and I just don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, draping the flag over you, anyway, but flag as clothing material, that's it's an interesting topic. I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, it's really interesting the progress of how it used to be, because back in, I want to say it's the 60s, when protests were very much going on throughout the United States, people used that in protest because it broke the flag code. And then it kind of morphed into like, oh, well,
a fashion statement.
Yeah. So it turned into a fashion statement. So like a lot of people, like when they're showing off that patriotism, forget that that was originally a form of protest, because people were intentionally breaking the flag code by doing that, and it turned into a fashion statement. So in my head, I'm like, I know it's going to happen. I know I'm going to see it like for the next week or so, and I'm going to have to like be like,
okay. So moving on with that pet peeve with the flag. My huge pet peeve with the flag is people having it behind their cars.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this so many times,
and a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah, seriously.
Like you see it and you're like, okay,
you see
you're in a
tattered
parade.
flags.
It's like, okay, you're in a parade, you have it on the back of your car, you're going like 20 miles an hour. Cool. It's a thing. You take that on the highway and I want to beat you with the stick.
This is acceptable too because it's a painting. It's not the
It's a
actual
painting.
flag. Yeah,
Mhm.
no.
I
This
just
is
like
this is such an
it
interesting 4th of July. Let's talk about all of our pet peeves from civilians.
I mean, as long as it's not,
And then
as long as it's not literally like a costume or athletic uniform, because I think that's actually like one of the things.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
then, I mean,
I have
I can
yeah.
understand, but like, yeah,
And
the
then
the
people-
tattered flags, it's like,
And then they'll be like, their thing is, they're like, well, such and such in my family serves in the military, and they think it's cool.
Did they say that, or were they trying to get you out of their fucking face because they were gonna punch you in the face? Like, like, let's be
And
real.
I get it. There are military members who do that. They fly their flag in their trucks, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Yay, America!" And that pisses me off even more because they know the laws.
Yeah.
Rules, not etiquette. There's the rule.
It's funny.
The
I
flag
don't have a flag pet peeve. I have a social media pet peeve. This is the thing that makes me both chuckle these days. What gets me these days is when Facebook specifically. Facebook is your friends. That's the people who are going to see your post, right? You post an article, you're trying to educate your friends, things like that. So when you post the words, and I quote, "Damn it, would you people stop popping off fireworks? I don't like fireworks." I can't help but go, who the fuck are you talking to? They're not on Facebook right now. They're out popping off fireworks.
I
Who
mean, I
are you
guess it
throwing
depends.
it's just your aggression into the ether, and I'm just like,
I mean,
stop.
that's a mental health thing. You're
Yeah.
sending your annoyance into the world. You can't tell those people you're mad. It's like when I'm driving and somebody cuts me off, and I was like, there was like plenty of space behind me. You could have just, okay, they can't hear me, but I'm telling them because it makes me feel better.
Well, okay, but there's a huge difference between doing it for, it's kind of like, it's the sending a letter without sending it thing. You write a letter without sending it, but when you post it on Facebook, I can still see it.
Yeah.
Like,
Now you know. Don't go out and pop fireworks because somebody in your neighborhood is not gonna like it,
no,
right?
fuck you. I'm gonna do sparklers right outside your window.
oh, since we're talking about all that stuff, check with your cities, make sure it's legal. Because
Yeah.
like some
Yeah, let's do that
cities
first.
it's illegal, and it's like, hey, you can buy it and you in a different city, and you can set it off in a different city, but you best not be coming home with that. So
Just, just communicate better with your community. And I'm telling you right now, the cops can't arrest all of you if you're all popping off fireworks.
Well, generally speaking, even the ones that you cannot do it on the 4th of July, they just kind of turn their head.
Yeah. It's one of those things where cops are just like, there's a murderer running around this neighborhood right now, and you want me to arrest a guy just for popping off a firework? Let me think about
there's
which
a
one's
lot of
much more
drunk driving.
important.
There's a lot of drunk driving.
Or
the
just
4th.
as a
Please
whole.
don't drink and drive.
Yeah, or as a whole, driving recklessly because you think everything's normal, but people are out in the streets popping off fireworks, and you end up hitting somebody because you're an idiot not paying attention to anything.
ride sharing is
So,
your friend, by the way, in response to what
please don't drink and drive. Please don't drink and drive. Please make it through the weekend.
ride sharing is your friend.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Patreon, by the way. We have all these platforms. Patreon. We threw out comments, the topic at hand, and we got a comment, and this ties into what we're talking about and what we're doing for the 4th of July. Guts asks, will you guys be watching the America the Motion Picture on Netflix and or Team America World Police for the 4th of July? Man, I have not watched Team America World Police in a hot minute, but that
No.
song, America, fuck yeah. And I just can, okay, so let's be real. It's the South Park team. So no one is safe from the South Park team. They're going to crack jokes at everybody. And I remember starting it up to when they do this major surgery on his face, but all they did was do patches of hair all over his face and they didn't do anything else. Like that was all they did because, it's low budget puppets. But like, yeah, Team America in and of itself is a joke on the response towards 9/11 because you got these guys who are like, yeah, we killed the terrorists. you also destroyed the Louvre. You also destroyed the Eiffel Tower. You also did all this other shit. And it's like, what the fuck? So
That's funny.
I don't know if I'll be watching Team America, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of hyped about America the motion picture. I don't know if you guys watched the trailer that I sent in the group chat, but my biggest takeaway that I love the most is Channing Tatum, voice actor for George Washington.
I'm curious about it.
Did you guys get in here in a car? George Washington, the fuck's a car? And I'm like, yeah, I can totally see George Washington doing that. Sure. And I love that they're like the absolutely real story of how America actually happened. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, that's what I am studying in school, so maybe I could just watch it and like get
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the tests right,
And
right?
you know
Right?
what? If when you get your F, you walk up to your teacher and you go, I saw America the motion picture. How the fuck did I get this wrong? George Washington got there in the car, okay?
Yeah. Because
Oh.
taking American politics at this time is really fun, let me tell you.
Fucking right. Yeah, so sad. But I mean I'm not I can't there's so many things in America, in Washington, in terms of no more fireworks, whether it's the heat, because let's face it, the West Coast is probably a danger zone for all fireworks, because these last few years we've had crazy fires that have raged all the way up to fucking Canada. Sorry, our Canadian friends, we didn't mean to do a gender reveal party that big. I'm sorry.
Everybody knew what the baby was. Everyone knows that you're having a precious little boy now.
I wonder if that boy will never live it down, by the way. Like,
I hope, I kind of wish like his name would be like
something fire related. I said the same shit. I was like, please do that.
Johnny
please.
Arson.
Or just Freedom Fires.
Freedom Fire.
He'll get a tattoo of fire on him. It's fine. Oh man, yeah.
I mean, if I was that kid, I'd have to play it up, because if not, you're just gonna have a lot of mental health issues.
Right. But no, I don't know about you guys. I'm taking the Four Brothers mead for 4th of July came out with an apple pie mead flavor. I'm going to be taking that up, and I'm going to not only celebrate my independence, but I'm going to celebrate my engagement with my folks. So
Congratulations!
thanks, guys.
Did you go, yes, 1,000 times yes?
You know what was funny was Ruby Echo literally joked
Sorry.
around because she and her bestie, who's also helping us do the whole wedding planning, she goes, if he doesn't propose soon, I'm just going to. And and I jokefully I would have said yes, and I would have enjoyed seeing what you would have done to make it
You'd have
special.
been like, yes, here's your ring.
Right, there you go. So yeah, and speaking of all of this,
not to ruin things for her if she watches this, but you were already planning to propose to her like pre-COVID.
Yeah, no, she
Yep.
knows about that. Again,
Oh, she knows about that now?
There's nothing
Okay.
conventional about our relationship. We picked each other's rings out that we wanted to be engaged to, and our wedding bands. So
Well,
there's been a lot of communication. My wedding band, I'm very excited about. So there's this company that managed to get their hands on some of the retired M1 Grands from World War II.
Oh.
They took the wood and the brass from the rounds, and they turned them into rings.
Oh,
That is
wow.
awesome.
So
That's incredible.
that will be my wedding band. That will be what I rock for all eternity while I'm in this relationship. And I'm very excited. Let me show you, so here's the ring. It's gorgeous. Isn't that just so gorgeous?
That is
So
so pretty.
yeah. So I'm very excited about the wedding band.
I like that the
Excited
one
about
guy is
wedding.
the one who got engaged in this, or like
Anyway, yeah, so freedom the fuck on, but freedom on responsibly. What about you guys? What are you guys doing for the 4th of July?
You first.
Okay, I don't know.
I can let
I
you
guess
borrow
they do.
these?
I guess they do fireworks. Okay, so last year
Uh-huh.
was COVID,
Yeah.
And they didn't tell anyone where they were putting off fireworks. They had like location zoning that you could like be in, that you would be able to see them, but they didn't have like a place. And so then they like kind of just set off fireworks in random places, and I couldn't find any of them. And I literally was like driving around in circles all over the town trying to find something to look at.
Yeah.
So I missed the year before. We were in a burn ban, a really bad burn ban, so they were not allowed to do any.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the year before that, I moved here, so I didn't know anything because I moved in June, and so I didn't know anything. And I was like, "Oh, the base will probably do something," and the academy does not do anything.
Fucking
They
Air
go to
Force.
school.
They do. Okay, so they do for the cadets. They do a big light show thing, but it's in a building and it's for the cadets. So they do this like huge.
Just flash your veteran
I
card.
still get amazed by like Air Force training. Like it just.
I get amazed by it.
I'm always surprised.
Sitting there with
Actually,
their
just
look at
4-star
it, but-
meals.
I just
Vacuums.
I
Vacuums in their
work-
barracks.
I work in the coffee shop that serves Starbucks in the middle of.
Carpeted
academy.
barracks rooms.
They're not carpeted. They're not carpeted.
The ones
We would
in
just be
Japan
like,
were.
Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday to you.
Here's
I
cake.
get back in the pit.
Get back in the pit. Yeah, that's right. Man.
They usually do, and they'll do. Oh, also they get what are they called? The trucks, the food trucks. They'll get like a bunch of trucks for the day, and then they'll be like, yeah, it's great fun. And then
you know what we did in the Army? We went to the range.
But this is the academy. It's like 4 years of basic training.
No, this is Air Force. This is just.
Yeah, it's still Air Force. I mean, I remember when I was in Iraq for Thanksgiving, like we were talking about you being a cook for Thanksgiving and everything. And you worked, and then we kind of got sidetracked. What I was going to tell you is for Thanksgiving every year is they get all the higher ups, like the commander of the base and like all of his lackeys, to actually do the serving of the food all day.
Yeah, congratulations, you fucking officers. Serve the food. You know who still has to cook it and clean everything? My sorry ass. I don't want to fucking hear it every fucking day.
No, it's better. It gets better. And they get the tables. This is in Iraq, by the way. On the tables, they put a big tablecloth out, and they put like actual silverware and stuff, and they had like candles on the table. That's what we had for.
I still can't get over the food trucks. I'm still like my brain kind of shut down at that point.
Every godforsaken fucking year, the DFAC manager would sit there and say, "This year's gonna be different. They're gonna cook the food for us, and we're gonna chill and we're gonna enjoy ourselves." They show up and they're all doing photo ops on the serving line, and we're still cooking.
Oh, of course.
Anyways,
I've learned for the first time that over Pikes Peak, the big mountain in Colorado Springs, it's a 14er in Colorado Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do fireworks over that.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
And so cool. My boyfriend's new apartment, his balcony looks towards Pikes Peak.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
We're probably gonna go there.
That's awesome.
So I'll probably go to his house and be doing work out on his balcony.
Unless you do one of those things where the TV is broadcasting it, but then you look out and it's not happening, but the TV wants you to think that it's happening right now. They're talking about it like, oh yeah, for 2021, blah, blah, blah. And you're looking out like, the fuck you are? Mayan, what about?
I will see and take pictures of things.
Right.
But I'll probably be mostly doing schoolwork this week. I'm taking a class that is supposed to be a 16-week class, but it's only 4 weeks. Because
summer classes, yep, I feel you.
Mayan, what are you doing for 4th?
I am gonna be cheesy. I'm doing a charity event in Tustin, California. I'm going to be in cosplay with my cosplay parents. I'm going to be doing a charity event. I will be Elsa, and then my cosplay parents are going to be Anna and Olaf, and we're going to be kind of giving candy and toys and stuff to kids in Tustin.
Aww.
So that'll be my 4th of July. And then hopefully by the end of the day, I will be completely trashed. But For the most part, it'll be a nice
In
charitable
cosplay?
event.
Are you going to be trashed in cosplay? Because I really want to see Elsa
I
trash.
had this like really horrible thought because she's a Marine. They're gonna hit like they'll be handing out sparklers for the kids. There's mine with an M80 just going, there you go! Freedom the fuck on, little fucker! In her silkies. Because that's what the Marines are known for, is their silkies.
Our super sexy silkies.
Fuck yeah. I'm glad I got silkies now.
That's going to be my thing. It's going to be really nice and sweet and charitable, and then just chaos in the evening. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the nice, cute,
we don't
super selfless stuff.
we can't let the audience know that Mayan Goddess is a fucking
There's
Marine.
two sides of you. There are two sides of you. There's your sweet charity side and your badass Marine side.
Mm-hmm.
So
makes you you.
Put the crayons. Oh, speaking of Mayan Goddess and what she's doing, the force is strong with this one. And of course, we got to bring up Star Wars in this episode. Mayan, why don't you rev up this story before we show off what happened to you?
Okay, so let's go back to like the 90s or like decades ago. Now, nerd culture now is really welcoming. It's really supportive, regardless of what you love. There's a community for it. Now, rewind a couple decades, that wasn't necessarily the case. And so for me and my dad, when we were little, we would watch Star Wars Episode 4, particularly the section with Yavin and the Battle of Yavin 4. Because that was filmed in Tikal, Guatemala, which is the country that my dad's from. And we would always sit down in front of the TV and we would always watch it. And he'd be like, this is our home. And little like 3-4-year-old me is like, this is our home. Okay. But he didn't really he didn't feel welcome in the Star Wars community because because to him, nerd culture has always been like not welcoming to darker skinned people, or women. Gatekeeping was very much a thing. So he never felt welcome. And so as things got more open, he never got to see that. And so I wanted to take him to Star Wars Celebration, and he said like, hey, quiero ir, pero no sería bueno porque somos indígenas, which is basically like, I'd love to, but that's not a good idea because we're indigenous. Because in his mind, he was still stuck in those days where we weren't as welcome. And so I made a plea on TikTok and said, hey, so I donned on my indigenous garb or my traditional corte huipil and all that. And I busted out a lightsaber. I busted out my Bebe Ocho. And I was like, hey, you guys, let me know what you guys think. I want to prove to my dad that like our culture is welcome in the Star Wars culture. And people saw it.
Indeed, they did. Can you see it? Is everything working? I have the sound on and everything. Okay, good.
So this is apparently a lot of people saw it, including Mark Hamill himself.
Yep. I'm not at all jealous with your collection, by the way.
I love your Star Wars braces so much.
Thank you. That's my dad.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
I know. I cried so hard the first time. I was able to hold it together that time, but sort of.
That is
You know my favorite part about that? It's not even like the fact that he was so happy about it or that he started crying and still to this day proclaims that he wasn't crying. It's the fact that my mom was like, who's Mark Hamill? She just said that. And both
Could have left it alone.
Yeah. My dad and I sort of looked at her and were like, we will murder you.
I wish you got that on film.
Oh God.
That would have been the ending blooper right there at the end, where like this whole sweet moment, and then you turn to her, who's Mark Hamill? That would have been hilarious. But
yeah,
no, I saw that video and I couldn't help but go, what the fuck? I think it was Jen actually who told me that he had responded, because
we were watching.
Yeah, I
think I was the first person to even comment on your TikTok. Like I was like, first,
I tried to use my 19,000 reach to help out as much as I could humanly possible, all this other stuff. So unfortunately, with 19,000 people, that means that I have to turn off notifications. There's a lot of likes, a lot of notifications of views as a whole, and it just gets so bogged down. So I turn off notifications. So thank you, Jen, for going, oh, he responded. And I go, no, what? So I get on there and I'm like, oh, and I was over the moon and overjoyed for your father and you for getting a response from Mark Hamill that just solidifies all of this. That was so fucking cool. Hell fucking yeah.
Yeah, my dad looks up to him a lot. And so to kind of get that kind of stamp of approval, and not just from him, but just from so many people in the community. There were so many that were like, hey, you're welcome. And there were a lot of people in the Indigenous community, especially, that were like, hey, this is proof that like Indigenous culture is shown in Star Wars. So he got to see all of that and he was just blown away.
I loved reading like just other people's stories on your thing. Like that was like so heartwarming just to read other people's stories and what they had to say about coming out, you know, in the nerd culture of being either Indigenous or just POC or just of any type of
anything.
Yeah, and just being like, yeah, this is cool now. We're good now. But,
exactly.
Yeah, because I remember, and you know, I'm still very white, but I'm a girl.
What?
I know, right?
Stop the car! What the fuck?
That makes me think of a whole other story, but no, I'm gonna come back. And so growing up, like me and my friends, we wrote stories. We were gamers. We were like, I realized later that we literally played D&D in our notebooks without like playing D&D because no boys let us play D&D.
Yes.
Right?
So true. So true.
And like we were passing notebooks in school between classes to each other, but in those notebooks were entire fantasy worlds that we were creating between each other. We weren't passing notes about boys and whatnot. We were creating these entire fantasy worlds. We had these characters that were like crazy. Like
that just makes me think of all those video trends where I bet he's thinking about other girls, and then you're just sitting there, and then a thought bubble of just nothing but stupidity or some other random thing. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, totally.
And the funny thing is, like, nobody ever took our notebooks, but I always laughed, like, as an adult, that I wonder if a teacher, like, ever would have taken our notebook and, like, noticed that we were passing notes to each other in this huge notebook and actually read them.
Looked at the notebook and just immediately brought it back, like, there's nothing nefarious going on here. Here you go.
Take this back. Keep it up. Keep doing this. Whatever this is. I don't know what this is. Well, I guess it depends on which teacher would do it. I'm pretty sure if it was a non-geeky teacher, they would probably be like, oh.
You're a nerd.
Oh.
Nerd.
Unless it was like English
what
teacher.
Satanist stuff is this?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, because I actually still remember my character's name.
She worships the devil.
But yet, tried when I was in high school, I wasn't a nerd. I look back and I'm just like, okay, never mind. Like, I wasn't into Star Wars. Like, we've had these conversations before, and I wasn't into like any of like the real popular nerdy things back then. Like, I didn't even get into Harry Potter until I was an adult.
My Star Wars passion, like, was more welcomed when I was in, like, once I got into the Marine Corps. Because it was like, okay, I enjoy this, but I'm really tired of getting quizzed every time I say, hey, I like Star Wars. So it was like, once you join the Marine Corps, like, everybody just hates each other equally, let's be honest. So it's like, oh, we love Star Wars. Hey, let's talk about Star Wars shit, like, all the fucking time. So I'd be like walking through through the base and stuff like that, and be like, oh, dude, oh my God, did you hear about Kashif? Like, oh my God, like all this stuff. And it was just like, it was like, I felt more welcoming,
See,
like being a geek in the military.
I feel like every time you guys talk about the military, I had like an entirely different military experience. And I know, granted,
Again,
I get
you were in probably before we were born.
How dare
so,
you
no,
speak for age?
He knows how old I am.
Ageist.
But when I was in, I played an MMO. Me and a couple of the other people in my squadron, we played. They played a different MMO, but I played a different one. But we could still talk MMO, even though we played different ones together. Multimedia online role-playing game, for those who don't know. And our little group was called the Nerd Herd behind our backs. And they didn't tell us this for a long time, but eventually we started catching on, and then we claimed it. And then we're like, oh yeah, we're the Nerd Herd. Nerd Herd walking in. Nerd Herd's going outside, you know.
Get like a battle call.
Nerd Herd!
Yes.
But yeah, they try to talk bad about us behind our backs all the time. There's only like 4 or 5 of us, and one was our supervisor. And he also played the MMO.
I guess
That's amazing.
the only question left to ask is, Mayan, are you still riding the high of Luke Skywalker himself commenting and telling you and your dad that you guys are
I mean, I'm not trying to let it get to my head, but I really wanted to.
But
yeah, she is. She'll be like meeting him one day. She'll be like, you wrote on my TikTok page. You remember me? Of course you remember me.
I am trying. I am working on a traditional Luke Skywalker for my dad, like a Luke Chilopotzli kind of thing, like Luke Skywalker and Huitzilopochtli.
That's cool.
Sorry, I combined two very different things just then, but yeah.
It happens. It happens to the best of us.
fucking do it, man.
Again, speaking of pride, it'd be pride in your heritage, not just your sexual orientation. Take on what you have and be that person, because you have to claim who you are. And in this day and age, nobody's going to celebrate you. You have to tell them who you are. You have to remind them the person you are and be like, no, I'm here because of this and why.
Shifting into a different, interesting gear after saying that, mental health matters.
Well, I mean, that could be an easy transition. You have, as soon as you take care of yourself and show people who you are, your mental health is part of that.
It's liberating to be able to be open about who you are.
Yes.
As long as it's like not illegal or anything.
Yeah. So putting aside that, yes, I proposed to my girlfriend, who is now my fiance, over the my cabin trip weekend. There is another podcast I enjoy called Free Range American, and they had a couple of weeks off, and the reason for that being is that 3 of them went out to Alaska to just kind of live in nature, and the only real communication they had was using their Garmin Instinct tactical watches. And every once in a while, you press and hold the GPS button, and it links it and syncs it, sends it to the device, and basically that way you look at the person and go, okay, they clocked in, they're alive, I know that you're alive. And one of the people, Matt, his response to it while being out there was, I don't care who you are or where you come from. I think getting out in nature is something that we as human beings desperately need to apply more to our lives, because he had these tendencies while he was in Alaska to just check his emails on his phone. And he had a brief second when he was actually doing that, and then he looked up at the beautiful snowy landscape that they were in. He just went, what the fuck am I doing? Put his phone away and just breathed in the moment. And that's what I had. So to keep this brief, I could just simply say that that's what I ended up doing. We got there to the cabin, and I looked at this mountainside in the backyard, and I couldn't help but go, all right, I'm going to post one video for Facebook that basically says, hey, this is what I'm doing. Look at how gorgeous this is. And then I'm going to turn my phone on Do Not Disturb and put it in my pocket. That way I can check weather with my watch. And I'm not going to touch my phone for as much as I can for the remainder of the weekend, which I was successful up until I proposed, and then that afternoon we both agreed, all right, it's time to update Facebook. And then of course the slew of comments and likes and stuff started hitting our phones, going, oh my God, and you just couldn't handle it. It was so refreshing to just, whether I was inside looking through these giant windows that looked outside, or if I was standing on the balcony, or at nighttime looking up at the stars, it was really refreshing to my soul and to my mental health to just sit there and just stop being on my phone for 36 hours. Because again, we got on Facebook to update our relationship status. So I recommend it to everybody in some way, shape, or form to turn off their phone for a full day and just live in the moment, do something else. And I got to tell you, I think my weekend was so successful that there is to an extent where I'm just like, man, I don't think I even care to go on Instagram ever anymore. And that's really sad because my Instagram has Live Bearded, Four Brothers Mead, axe throwing, Black Rifle Coffee connections. And I'm just like, I can't shut all this off. But
I mean, we live in the world where we need social media. And so, but to be able to remind ourselves that it's not the end of the world, it's not the only thing, is a good idea.
It's not the
even
real
if it's
world.
just, and even if it's just a couple hours a day, just a couple hours a day, it'll reset your mind.
Yeah.
Social media pins people against each other. You see what everyone else is doing, and you see them at their best on social media. So but it affects your mental health. You've got to walk away from it.
You gotta take a break from it, and I did, and it was so refreshing that I wish I could go back, but maybe not while it's 100 degrees out. That, you know, just saying, like,
in the fall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I mean, okay, so it's Leavenworth, so the town is built to look very Germanic, and it's very Christmas themed too. So, which is one of the biggest reasons why I decided to propose, because my fiance not only loves Leavenworth as a whole, but loves Christmas. So I thought, okay, well, if it's not going to be Disneyland, her other favorite place in the whole wide world, it's going to be fucking Leavenworth. I'm going to, yeah. Pat myself on the back. So I had to make it special for her, and I'm glad it was successful because, you know, yeah. Having a good reset is very necessary. I recommend it to it all. That I just wanted to apply that to this episode in terms of mental health. That as for me, it worked for me, and I hope it inspires others to do the same. Take a minute, get off social media, chill, live your actual life. Come back to it later.
It will always be there.
It'll always be there, unless there's a giant EMP war and everything's gone because Snake Plissken said, "Welcome to the fucking planet," and then hit the button.
And we won't have to worry about like social media. Then we'll have to.
Yeah, not only will we not have to worry about social media, but, you know, medical appliances too. That those require electricity. Like,
just don't die.
Shit. Yeah, you know, whatever. Dark Ages.
We'll just reset our lives completely.
Yeah, right.
The world's been due for a whole reset.
Speaking of a reset, Loki. Now we're going to get into Loki. We're going to talk about the first 3 episodes, and our thoughts on the show Loki and how it's going so far. I just got done talking about mental health and my journey, so I'm not going to go first. I'm going to throw it to Cosplay Jenemy.
Yay! I was like, the first 3 episodes? Is that counting today, or is that...
No, because today's episode's the 4th episode.
Okay. I was like trying to count that in my head. I was like, I haven't seen today's yet.
Again, for our weekend listeners, we're recording on Wednesdays. So when we say today, we meant, you know, several days ago.
few days back. Yeah. I'm really enjoying this. I don't want to do like spoilers or anything, but I'm really enjoying the direction that they're taking it, and it has a lot of like conversations, like what would you do if, and it's like if you screwed up the timeline, like what are you going to do now? And then you learned like this rest of your life that happened without you. And then you're sitting there going, now what? Because you know you can't go back. That life continued without. And so that's been a whole lot more like thought-provoking show than I thought it was going to be. Where like I'm like in this like, this isn't like I mean, yeah, it's sci-fi in the way that we don't know if it really exists, but what if it did? What if that was a thing and all of a sudden you're pulled out of your life and what do you do? What do you do then?
And then important parts of your life end up just being paperweights.
Yeah. Yeah, things that you thought were the end all be all.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to go that deep all of a sudden, but this has been my thing with Loki, has been more than just the show itself. I've enjoyed, don't it's a great show, but just the concept behind it.
Yeah.
Just thinking about what if?
Sure. Yeah. Mayan, what about you? How you loving Loki so far? Or hating?
So this has an interesting but really fucked up tie-in to the mental health thing that we were just talking about earlier. Sometimes it's important to love yourself. Or a variant of yourself.
A variant. Puns.
Yeah. That said, I do like the direction that it's going. It's wild from one episode to the next, and I really appreciate that. I think a lot of the Easter eggs that they have in there, even down to like when they premiere, is really fascinating to me. And so the more that you kind of like peel back the layers of this onion that is this show, the more you see. And I think in the same sense that we did with WandaVision or in Falcon and Winter Soldier, like you peel back the layers. Yeah, it's Captain America.
Well, no, because everybody keeps calling it one of the two. I like to just say Captain Falcon.
Anyway, like the same thing that people do with those shows, getting to kind of like go into the nitty-gritty details. It's really fascinating that like they kind of like got the freedom to explore in Loki, and I really do appreciate that.
Well, it was said in an interview with Sam Raimi at the beginning of Ash vs. Evil Dead on Showtime or Stars. The reason why they ended up, instead of making a whole new movie, went in the direction of a TV series was because you can do so much more with a television show.
Yeah.
You can go way more in depth with these characters and their progression. And I think
what I love is most of these so far, these TV shows have been side characters. You haven't learned their backstory. You haven't learned what makes them really tick. You get like a little side piece of who they are. And now you're getting to see these like whole worlds that they have.
Yeah.
Literally created in some.
Exactly.
That said, I'm looking forward to seeing some of these characters on the big screen someday. Like,
yes,
like they deserve a big theatrical release.
Especially when you Google them and you find out just how important they actually are to the storyline. You're just like, ooh, so how are you going to do this for the cinematic universe? All right, let's see what happens.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited to get back to like seeing like the movies, but these like having all this like filler stuff has been fantastic.
Yeah, especially at the pace in which they're doing it and the fact that it's a TV show. I think I'm really enjoying Loki's TV series. I think that borderlining spoiler talk, what I love about the show is that much like Thor Ragnarok, we are getting to see a borderline unnerfed version of Loki, as opposed to when we've seen him in the past, in my opinion. We're talking about a guy who, through his magics, created an entire room to make himself look like he's okay, and then when the magics went down, he's unclean, his hair's unmaintained, and he's just sitting there on the floor against the wall, hating his life and hating himself. Like, he was putting up this guise, right? And so to see him do what he did at the near ending of the third episode with a building, which I won't go into total spoilers, I was just like, wow, you actually
Where the fuck was that?
Yeah, you actually made the Norse god a Norse god for once. Isn't that fascinating? So, like...
Well, I also liked, like, seeing a lot of his and his mom's relationship. Like, you didn't get that in the movies.
Yeah, yeah. His,
because it wasn't about him, so you didn't get to see him.
Yeah.
But, like, really getting to see, like, their relationship and the love that he had for his mother was just... It was sweet, and like there's a lot of heartwarming, touching like moments that you're like, Oh, Loki. Poor boy. No wonder why you were like you were.
Yeah, yeah. He is Loki of Asgard. Have care how you speak. He's Loki. He is my brother. He killed 70 people in 2 days. He's adopted. Yeah, Loki is definitely one of those characters where it's like there's deserves to be sympathy card in that, considering what has happened to him. I mean, for the most part, his entire life is a lie. So
Yeah.
That said, I have one concern.
okay,
Okay.
And it's not necessarily with Loki, but with Marvel Cinematic Universe and Disney in general.
oh good.
Because there's a threat that can come with this. Ready?
Okay.
Because you can burn out a fan base pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it all depends on how you time things out. So I know one trend that I've been seeing in particular is that people will like they'll watch the series and then they're like, okay, we can't afford to do another one, so we'll just wait until the next series is over, then we'll watch it, we'll resubscribe, then cut, then resubscribe, and then cut. And so Disney, knowing this, is saying, okay, well, let's push this sooner so that they don't have that chance to cut the subscription, and they just go on with the next one. Yeah. And the trouble with that is that if you're pumping out that much, there is that threat that you kind of saw with Star Wars. I'm going to bring back Star Wars because it's a tradition.
I mean, it's all Disney, so.
Yeah, where like you don't have a chance to flesh out the storyline, the details, and all that before pumping the product out or before going into production and post-production. So with Marvel, like Marvel fans are used to having a comic book come out every week, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars isn't the same, but in the same regard, if you keep doing that, eventually people are going to fall behind, or people are going to be like, I just can't keep up because I've got shit to do. So there's as much as I enjoy seeing things coming out one right after another, we're eventually going to have to go back to going out, doing jobs, doing school, and all this. And at some point, we're going to have to prioritize. And my fear is that by releasing Marvel shows and movies back to back to back, especially with the unveiling of their new schedule, that they're coming out with a lot of stuff within the next 2 years, there is that threat where it's like, okay, we may get burned out.
Well,
and I'm afraid of that.
I think the one thing about Marvel that is different from Star Wars is there's so many different genres and characters and and direction you can go. Like I'm really excited for What If, and that's going to have nothing to do with like the actual storyline. And so that'll be like if somebody is like, okay, well I can't do Marvel right now because I'm a little burned out. That's when they can drop because it's not part of the canon story. And I think Marvel is like knows this and is kind of like, or Disney knows this and is kind of inputting these type of
yeah, you tell them.
The dog concurs.
The dog. They're putting this type of stuff into it. They're building that throwaway stuff into it, but it's also things for the mega nerds, the mega extremists, the ones who are going to choose Marvel over anything to continue to watch. They continue to stick with that fan base. They continue to put that thought process out there so they don't lose fans as well. And as you said, they don't lose subscribers.
It's almost like keying back to something I said earlier. It's important to take a break once in a while.
It is, and I think they will. I think there will be time. I know that's a lot in the next 2 years, but I'm pretty sure in some parts in there will be like breaks. But they're also very different. Like between Loki and WandaVision, they're very different shows. They give you a very different insight, even though it's the same world that you're stepping into. The thought process and the things that you're feeling and seeing are completely different. So I think that part will keep it fresh instead of just the movie after movie after movie, which have the very same theme from one movie to the next that you get in Star Wars.
At least we'll all agree that it's okay to binge watch the extended versions of Lord of the Rings trilogy whenever you want.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Marvel? No, take a break. I think that's it. That's all we got. This concludes this amazing jam-packed episode full of
It
content.
was a lot.
It was a lot
today.
It was a lot today. I hope you all had a good Pride Month. I hope that you all practice 4th of July safely. I hope that you take a break once in a while. I make sure you like, comment, subscribe on all of our channels. We are on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, your mother's backside. We are on YouTube. Check us out on Patreon. Get sweet deals, sweet cool things. You get to contribute to the show. And special shout out. I'll be making this post on Instagram this weekend. So make sure to look for it. We are currently in the market to have somebody help us out with our Instagram account. We are all very busy and we would like to have someone join the team, if you will, to help with sharing people, because I apologize deeply. We have not shared anybody since April.
And you'll get to be in our chat, which is, I would say fun, but it's just weird.
And if you want, you could be a part of the show. You can join in on these calls. I probably won't call on you because you're not a member of the cast, but you get to sit and watch. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
It's like we're advertising for a sex movie.
I mean,
You get to have the boomstick.
Remember that Pornhub logo I made for us? Oh, I am your host, representing the Army as a veteran, Tom Cruise, military nerd on all platforms. With me are my lovely co-hosts. We got Cosplay Jenemy, representing the Air Force.
hi.
Representing the Crayon Munchers, the Marines. We got Mayan Goddess.
I like purple.
Is the liquid purple? Like, I'm confused.
No, it's crayon juice.
Oh.
It tastes like royalty.
What is it? Smash them, boil them, smash them, put them in a stew. Just to key on that Lord of the Rings again. Yeah, that concludes it all. See you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Suck a fucking dick, motherfucker. Suck a fucking dick.
Motherfucker!
Suck a fucking dick, motherfucker. Suck a fucking dick.
Motherfucker!